All right. Hello and welcome to Back to Basics, the rental process. Let me shut my phone off because it will keep going. Today we're going over the rental process. Has anybody in here done rentals yet?
I did one today.
Is this your first one?
Yeah, my first
Oh.
one. I have a really funny story. So I, 4th of July weekend, I was on the
Uh-huh.
and I was bonding with them and I showed them 10 properties for rental. It was tiring. Turns out they qualified to buy. And now we're under contract.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, so they were come from California and they're like, we thought we did $1 million in the bank account and we thought it was hard because they're from California, right? So I hooked them up with David Gonzalez in my office. And the same day they got pre-approved. And they're like, we want to buy now.
Awesome.
So that's what I've been showing people rentals, but I haven't had one like
Gone into a
close
whole
yet.
transaction. Okay, yeah. Which is great. So congratulations. That's awesome. Did you find them a house already then?
Yes, we're closing on the 17th.
Congratulations. Yay.
So that was originally a rental.
Yes. And so that was my thing is a lot of agents don't do rentals. I myself included. I would only do them when I had clients that I did work with a lot of military, so they were coming from another state or another country, and they're like, I just need something to figure out where I want to be. If they, my people had to sell and then needed a little time in between of buying again, those are the only rentals that I help them with. But there are some agents that are killing it, like Julius in the Northwest office. He closed like 150 rentals last year, just rentals on top of like 17 actual closed transactions. So he's really, really busy, but you can make a decent living on rentals. Back in the day, we were getting, $500 per door, right? Every time we'd get them under contract, you get 4 rentals a month. That's $2,000 a month. It was well worth it. Well, nowadays the compensation for rentals is between 150 and 500, and 500 being on the top end. So it's not too often you see the 500, but you can ask for it. But before it was just the seller, the listing agents, not the seller, but the listing agent would say, hey, this is what the compensation is. And again, back in the day, we had a little field in the MLS that we were allowed to put what we wanted for compensation. And those are the homes that we were showing. And it wasn't so much for us, but if I said I wanted $500 for a rental and I said to my tenants, hey, I'll take you to go look, but I get $500, and they say they have no money, I'll say, okay, well, what can you afford? If the seller says no, what? And if they say I can only afford 300, then I would have to move that in the MLS, and this is it, because I have to get a certain amount, and if you can't compensate me. But they've since taken away that field, so now it's a free for all. So with rentals, they're a little different. I have already done a rental class last year. So the video is on our YouTube channel, right? And what I did there is I went over the same stuff, and then we shut the camera off, and I had 3 agents come up here and talk about how they did their process, right? So you didn't see any of that unless you attended the class, but we got the gist of it. One of our agents that does rentals actually wrote this for me, because I didn't focus on them too much, and I wanted to make sure that you guys had the proper information. So with that, we have rentals are a little bit different. They are not a client, they are a customer, right? And so because of that, you do not need a duties owed form filled out at all. All you need there's 4 forms that go on with a rental. There's like 20 with a buyer or seller, right? But with a rental, I have included these forms here. You are going to have the rental showing and compensation agreement. It's 2 pages. And then you'll have your rental referral agreement. That's just 1 page. And then you're going to have your W-9, which goes to the listing agent once they've accepted them. It's technically 2 pages. There's nothing you need to do with the W-9 except for on page 2, you need to circle which Realty One office you're out of, because that's where they send the check. So you just send them this one, and then that on the back you have to send it. So these are double-sided. Do not use the double-sided when you're in the transaction, right? Because you don't want to miss a page. So, and then the 4th one is your CDA, commission disbursement agreement, that you'll fill out at the very end, or if you have your TC, the compliance department in your offices, they can do it. I think they charge $25 to handle your paperwork on the rental. right? But the rental showing and compensation agreement is 2 pages. It's between you and your clients. The rental referral agreement is 1 page. That is what you fill out and send to the listing agent for your compensation. And then you also send your W-9 form, which is 2 pages. You just need to circle which office, along with the rental referral agreement to that listing agent once you've. I like to do it. Everybody's going to do their job differently, right? But the way I would do it, and I'm going to go over all the whole process, but say we've showed a home, they found one that they like. I call the agent and say, how do you want them to apply? Sometimes they'll say, fill out the LVR application. Sometimes they're like, there's a link. You have to follow whatever they tell you to do. But before I show a home, I get this rental showing and compensation form signed. This is your BBRA for rentals. You don't do a regular BBRA or duties owed. You do this rental showing and compensation. Your client signed that, then you go show them properties. They find one that they like. Now you ask the agent, how do you want me to, where do they, apply? If it's a link, they're going to apply. But what you guys, I suggest you do is send an email to that agent and say, my clients, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, are applying. We're currently online for your property at 123 Main Street. In the meantime, I have included my rental referral agreement and the W-9 form. Hopefully we can make this work. And they're able to secure that property. Please let me know if you have any questions, right? So then they apply, and then they'll do a background check and do all of that. And then say they've approved them, then they'll let usually the tenant know. They stop talking to us for whatever reason, right? It's just between them and the tenant. So you really want to stay in contact with your tenant to make sure the tenant understands that I'm out of the loop here. They'll say, hey, we got the rental. Awesome. So now you're going to follow up with another email. I just heard my clients have been accepted for 123 Main Street. Once again, here's my W-9 and my rental showing and compensation agreement. Please let me know if there's anything else you need for your file. Then it closes. So there's actually a 5th form. The MLS sheet showing leased. I forgot that. But once they've leased it, your tenants moved in, they'll change it in the MLS like sold, but it's not sold, so it's leased. You'll have to upload that as well. And then the CDA form. And that CDA spells out what the property address is, how much compensation you've received, who it goes to, all of that. Totally different form than what I have here, but you need that CDA form for every transaction you do because that's how you get paid. So with rentals, the rental process it's a little different, but they're not dealing with a lender per se. So it's kind of up to you to qualify them, but not qualify them. And how I say qualify them is make sure that you can even help them, because there's some people that we just ran into one of our agents has a house listed, and he had asked the seller, what are you going to do after we sell your house? He's like, I'm just going to rent something. And he's like, okay, are you good? You want me to, help you? And he's like, yeah, no, yeah. Once we get it on the market and everything. So he gets the house on the market. They potentially have an offer coming in on Friday. This just happened. And he calls the seller and he's like, we're going to get an offer, but I have to ask you again, what are your plans? Do you need time? And he's like, well, my problem is, if they do a background check, there's some things that are going to come up. So turns out he's on the sex offender list. Didn't tell the agent, and now the agent is like, I can't really help you. Like, I don't know what. And he's like, it was just a one-time thing. It is really how you read into that. It turns out it was a 2-time thing. And so he's a repeat offender. And when you go there, you have to disclose where what you're doing, where you're going, where you're living. They have to disclose everything. And it's unfortunate, but he's like, I can't help you. So are you going to sell your house? Because he's like, you might want to try applying for apartments or something right now, because rentals are, when you're going to find a rental house, it could be run by the owner. It could be managed by a management company. You don't know. And each one is different, right? So with that, you have to go to different processes for every single house. It's not the same link for everything. So he's like, I could start calling and asking people if they'll take you, but usually in this packet, there's some qualifying questions that you might want to ask. The move-in readiness, felonies, evictions, collections, it's usually automatic denials. So with that, when somebody says, hey, I need you to help me find a rental. Okay, do you have any felonies, convictions, collections? And sometimes I think medical collections, it says accept medical collections may be a cause for denial or an increase in security deposit. That one looks like it's page 3 or 4. 1, 2, 3. It's number 4. I'm going to jump around in this packet a little bit, but since I started with the qualifying, that's the stuff. Bankruptcies, ask if it's been discharged. If so, they might they might ask for a higher deposit. They can ask you for what, or they ask the tenant for whatever they want. First, last, security. They can ask if it's like $2,000 a month. They can ask $6,000 a month. They can ask whatever they want, right? They're going to ask for employment income. They must be employed. Income requires 2.5 to 3 times the monthly gross rent, right? So if they're making $2,000 a month, or the rent is $2,000 a month, they want to show that want you, the tenant, to show that they make 3 times that. They bring that home. Okay, well, that's kind of hard because if they're bringing in that kind of money, then they might be qualified for a house. But a lot of times it's bad credit, so they can't get qualified. So that's why you're like, why are you looking for a rental? Oh, because I can't get qualified. Why can't you qualify? Those are questions that you need to ask. Only because, I mean, we don't care, but only because it's going to matter to us when we're trying to find them a rental. Because if we can't, like, you guys are going to be spinning your wheels, and if you find out that they don't qualify, so what you would do is they'll pick out some houses. Now you're calling, hey, they have a bankruptcy from 2 years ago. Would you take them? Now before you even go out there, I would suggest calling, right? Also, it says 2 recent pay stubs, 1099 for employees, the first pages of the tax returns, 2 months bank statements, government housing vouchers, Section 8. Most landlords will not accept these. The property needs to qualify. So if they're on Section 8, which means that the government pays for some of their housing, there's good and bad to that, right? Some people are like, I don't want any Section 8, but then other people are like, but it's guaranteed money. Like they have to pay or they get kicked out. Like the government stops. So but each landlord gets to decide what they want to do with their property, right? Credit score. Each property will have a different requirement, but the minimum is usually 600. There's a lot of people that'll come to you like 540. Like apartments are usually your go-to if they have any kind of these discrepancies, because the housing is a number of pets. That's another one. It's usually a 2-pet, like if you can find some with pets. And we did a search. It was just basic, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, minimum 1-car garage. But they had 3 dogs. Everything, like they had, when you don't put in the pets, there was like 200 and some matches. The minute you put in a pet, you get like 90. So it cuts it down. And then if they have multiple, 5. Like it's just a lot of people don't want pets in there, right? But a lot of people have pets. I'm a pet person. I had a rental. My husband managed it because I was not part of any of that. But all of them came in, said no pets, and then when we would go and look at it, they brought a pet in. So now it's like they ate up our baseboards, they ruined the carpet. I'm a pet person, but I have 2 big 70-pound dogs. My dogs didn't do that damage, and then they bring in these little dogs and they're chewing on everything, and now I have to rip up all the carpet. Cats, big deal for me because my husband and my daughter are severely allergic to cats. So whenever they walk in a home, within 5 to 6 minutes, he's swelling, like to the point where I almost have to take him to the emergency room. So every time we'd rent, we'd say, you can't have a pet, like a cat in here at all. You can't sneak one in. You just cannot, because if we decide to move back, if the next tenants are like, we'd have to replace everything. Luckily, they all follow that rule. But it's tough, so you do have, there's sometimes if they have a pet, there's a pet deposit for each pet. I just saw one the other day, $400 for each pet, and an additional $100 a month for pet rent. They could charge whatever they want to do, right? So it might say $1,800, but when you're all said and done, you're like $2,500 a month. So it just depends. So there are qualifying questions, but let's go back to the one that says rental process, first page. So renters are great to work with because sometimes they turn into, like full-on tenant, like purchasers. And it might not be right this second, but a lot of times you are showing them the property. They're just trying to figure out what side of town they want to go to, or how they have to clean something off their credit, right? And then they're going to buy. So, but then there's also the long term, I'm never buying a house renter, and sometimes you can tell the difference on who's doing what. They're like, oh, I'm never going to buy. Like, there's people that openly just don't want to own anything. That's okay. But with rentals, I would use that as one experience, getting them in the door and showing and calling and all of that. And two, the follow up, because you're going to want to put them on your notes like 10 months into their rental. If they're in a year, start calling them and contacting them. Still contact them like they are a buyer. And every holiday, you're letting them know, hey, just a reminder, this and that, whatever it is. You can do, the title companies have rent versus buy scales, as like, okay, if you're renting, this is what you're paying a month, and if you buy, this is what you're paying a month, but then you're paying down a mortgage and you own a house. So those are great things to keep giving to them, so they keep it in the back of their mind.
So my renter originally, he was talking about buying in the future, and in the beginning, I didn't want to pressure him, right? Yeah. Okay, you want to see rentals, fine. I was able to bond with him, and then he was really insecure about his credit score. So everyone had 700, 800, and he had like 670, but he was really insecure about it. But then when he talked to my lender, I was like, David, he's really insecure about his credit score. So if you can reassure him that that's not a big deal. And then turns out he was like, I thought I couldn't buy because of my credit score. Yeah. And now he's super happy.
And that's the thing, is it's just educating them. Sometimes there's still people out there that think they can't buy because they don't have 20% to put down. You don't need 20% to put down. You can sometimes get $0 down, but then 3%, 3.5%, 5%, they don't know that, right? So it's your job to educate them. So that's when the qualifying questions, why are you thinking about renting? Have you ever thought about purchasing a home? Because they might want to, like, I'm a little nervous getting a house. How about a townhome? We can purchase a condo as well. Start a little bit smaller. Keep in mind, when you're getting into the condo, their HOAs are sometimes $300 a month on top of that. So they're seeing one price and they're like, $300 more, I might as well just get a rental and get a bigger house. So you want to kind of just educate them along the way, but you want to ask those questions because they don't know what they don't know, right? When you're doing a rental, I say don't overcomplicate the process, because it's not that entailed. You're really just getting a couple documents signed, opening the door, and then connecting them to whoever we're not really negotiating for them. You can say, hey, they've just applied, but they did have one question. They noticed the blinds in one of the bedrooms is broken. Is that something that could be repaired? And, they'll tell you yes or no. The last rental I did, it was the south side. It was like right off of Las Vegas Boulevard. And we walked in, and it was 2 bedrooms, and she had 2 girls. They were probably teenagers, mid-teenagers. And so there were three of them there. We walk in, and you just like, what is that smell? And the first bedroom door was closed, and you could see the kitchen, the living room, and the master or primary. So we walk in, and I'm like, what's this door? And as soon as you open it, whoever was there before had a dog, and they just left it in that room and to go to the bathroom. And it was just like, oh my goodness. So she's like, I love the house, but we can't live in that room. And so I called up and I said, will you be doing anything? They said, nope. I said, but that's dog urine. They're like, yeah, if they don't like it, they can pay for it. I'm like, but they're the tenant. They're like, yeah, we're not doing anything. Some tenants will walk in there, you'll take them out, and they're like, I want this all painted. I want a new, you're not, what you see is what you get most of the time. There are some things where like the door in the oven is not closing, or something's not locking. It's about safety. It's not like you're not buying the house. What you see is what you get. And any improvements have to go through them. And you can't just paint a wall and just expect it, because they will want you to change it back. But they also might not want you to paint a black wall, because trying to, you go to paint it back when you're leaving, and you put one cone of white on there, and you could see the black through there, and they thought that was fine. So you still have to okay everything. So you want to educate your clients. Like, this is not your house. It is a rental. So don't feel like you can move in and just do whatever you want. Like, you can't be doing that. So you will have to check with everything. But if there's something that we just can't get past to move in, I will bring it to their attention and see if there's something that they'll do. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, right? Let's see. So we talked about the documents, and we'll go over those again. Okay, so then you're going to want to ask your clients, what's their moving time frame? So my daughter is dealing with some friends. This is they're living with the parents right now. It's her friend and her boyfriend. They're living at the parents' house, the boyfriend's parents' house, and they're like, we want to be out on our own. And so, she's new, so she's, okay, where do you want to be? That's her first thing. What side of town? Well, as she starts talking to him, she's like, okay, they want this and this and this. We're going to go out this weekend. I'm like, well, when are they looking to move? She goes, probably April of next year. No, you're not, you shouldn't take them out to look at rentals right now. I mean, it's usually 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, right? Because if you find something that they like, they might hold it for 2 weeks without charging them. Anything after 2 weeks, they have to prorate the month, right? So there's no sense in going and taking them to go look at something because in the next 6 months, the rents could go up, the rents can go down. So what I'm showing you now, they're like, we just want to see what's out there. Okay, but you don't even have a price range because we don't know what the price range is going to be in April, right? So people don't realize that our time is valuable. They think it's just fun for us to go look at homes, and they'll tell you that. Oh, I just want to go look at homes today. I had some lady convince me that she was buying horse property, and I just jumped in the car and trekked down to Pahrump, only to find out that she thought her husband had the money, and he didn't. And not only that, he lost his job that following week. So you're like, oh my goodness. But we were good friends, and so then she's like, well, if nothing else, we had fun. That was not fun. That was like an hour and a half drive each way because I live in Centennial Hills and we had to drive all the way down to Pahrump and around and then all the way back. And, so they think it's fun. Oh, I just want to see, if you're not looking to buy, then go tour model homes. But when you're looking at resales or rentals or whatever, keep in mind that they're there they've set the house up to show to get somebody in there, especially sales. Like if there's somebody that's living in the home or even a tenant that's in the home, you have to schedule an appointment. That tenant has to tidy up. Then the tenant has to step out or coordinate where their animals are going or their kids are going. And it's a big inconvenience for somebody that's not ready, right? So they need to be ready. What is your time frame? If they say, oh, by the end of the year, say, great, I'm going to set you up on a search. What are you thinking your price range, your monthly price range is going to be? Great, I'm going to set you up on a search. So if you're looking by the end of December, at the beginning of December, let's circle back and then we'll start going out. Oh, no, I want to see them now. No, there's no need to see rentals right now. It is August now. They're not going to be there, hopefully, because that's a really bad market if they're still there, or a really bad house if they're still there. But two, you're not ready. But I can give you all the qualifying criteria of what you need to do to get your ducks in a row. So come December 1st, we've got everything together and we can go ahead and start looking. Because if you find something you like, we're lucky if they hold it for 2 weeks. And then after that, you're going to have to start paying. So you might not even want to start looking till December 15th, right? But we'll get into that more on December 1st. But right now, what's your criteria? Okay, look for an email from me. And that is it. You have to start doing that because they will just take advantage of your time. They just do. But they think it's fun. Like that's our job, is just to open doors. But we've got time and money and gas, and we have to make appointments. And it's not just us; it's the listing agent. We have to get involved with the homeowners, because that listing agent is like, we have a showing. So now the homeowner, they're sitting there watching their cameras or whatever, waiting to see, and then they're calling the agent like, what did they think? Oh, they're not ready. Why did they go look at my house? Now you have people tropping through your house. It's not even, they have no intention of buying or renting, or so it's not just us they're inconveniencing, right? So just make sure that's clear. If they're qualified, again, income needs to show 3 times the monthly rent, employment history, rental history negatives. So if they've gotten evicted, or if they've got some, because they can call up, like if they're going to call up their last 1 or 2, maybe even 3 rentals, and find out if they've had any issues. They might not have been evicted, but maybe they had some issues. They snuck pets in there. They ruined the carpet. Like they had parties. Like what? Who knows? They were growing stuff in there. We don't know, right? So, but then their credit score and then deposits. I always go over the deposits. I say if they're going to get like $2,500 or less a month, they're probably going to need $3,000 to $6,000 in deposits. Just because you got your first, your last, your security. Don't know if they're all going to collect, but then you're going to need utilities. You're going to need a background check fee, which is $150 usually to $200 per person that's over the age of 18. If there's pets, there's going to be pet inquiries, pet rent, pet, like there's all of this stuff. You might have extra keys. You have a cleaning fee. There's all of this stuff that could be going on with there. So they think they're just going to show up and then here's $2,500 and it's not, right? So I educate them. So do you have all of that secured already? No. Okay. How much time do you think you need to get that secured? We'll go out once you have it secure. Because what they're going to do is they're going to find something they like and they're like, I don't have all this. And now you're begging and pleading with the listing agent. Can they just, no, like I wouldn't as a landlord. No, I want to make sure they have all their funds up front. And we made the mistake one time, my husband, because when it was a rental, we had our own house as a rental. I found the tenants because I put it on the MLS and then I back away as soon as they move in. We are not a licensed property management company at all. We can't hold a property management. They don't call me. Like something breaks, it's all my husband. Like I say, great, thank you so much. From here on forward, you're going to be dealing with my husband. I'm non-existent. That's it, right? So now he wanted to collect because he thought that was a lot of first, last, and security. He thought it was a lot. So he did first and security. And then they decided 9 months into it, 8 months, they were going to go buy a house, not tell us. And they said, oh, we're out. I said, but you still owe us. They're like, oh, no, we're not paying. I said, well, you signed a year lease. And, this is not me. This is what I'm telling my husband, right? And he's like, but you guys have to pay. And they're like, well, you can show it for the next 2 weeks. So we had 3 people view it. And they said, you should have picked one because they were not qualified. Well, you should have picked one. We're not paying. And they just left. So we had security. The security is for the damage that they do. So now we lost 3 months worth of rent, maybe 4 at that point. And the security deposit was there to fix things. So I'm like, you need to listen to me. Like that's just my husband. He's like, oh no, he comes from Connecticut where it's just, they trust everybody and they don't lock their doors. And I'm like, that's not that. I've been doing this 20 some years. Like this, trust me. No. So he has to learn sometimes. And that's what happened. And they did some, I don't want to say damage, but they didn't clean. It was a nice family. So I was not expecting the house to be the way that it was. Spider webs, cobwebs, and all of the windows and the blinds. And I'm like, it's only been less than a year. There were blood splatter. I'm not quite sure what had happened in multiple places, but high up, almost like somebody got hit. What I was thinking. Yeah, but it wasn't like blood spatter. It was just like, I'm like, because I'm the one that was cleaning, right? And so I'm doing the door jams. I'm like, what is going on here? Just random things. They snuck in a pet, urine stains all over. We had like a darker beige urine stains, smelled. We had to redo the carpet. Like it. Okay, so the $2,200 that he collected for security didn't cover that and 4 months that we lost. So that's why when your clients, your tenants will say, hey, is there any way that we can ask them to waive that? I kind of err on the side with the landlords. I don't want them to, like, I know what could happen. So I'm like, probably not. I mean, we'll ask them, of course, I'll ask them for you, but this is why, because they need to make sure that they're covered, right? So, like you're,
if the victim before you have to wait 4 months, why don't you just start an eviction process?
Well, they were already out. So they picked up and left and said, oh, by the way, they left the house unlocked. They left the keys on the counter and they're like, oh, we left. I'm like, what do you mean you left? You're like, well, then you could show it. Okay, but you have to pick one. I'm like, you're not going to tell me who I'm going to put in my house, but then again, evictions cost money. So if they stop paying, it's going to cost me money and time. And then when you start an eviction process for somebody, they're usually not happy because now you're ruining their credit. And usually when somebody has an eviction, it's 2 years before anybody else will look at them. So now they can't go anywhere else. So once you do that eviction, they're mad. And then they have to like default to an apartment at that point. They've got to find one landlord that's going to look past that. So it's a little bit difficult. So it's tough for both sides there. And as a landlord, I feel like tenants have all the rights. But as a tenant, the tenants almost say the landlord has all the rights. I'm like, well, it's their house. But again, there's some really shady landlords out there. ACs will go out. Oh, I'm working on it. I know that these same people, our refrigerator went out and it was like 10:30 at night. And she calls my husband, the wife, and she's like, oh my gosh, I just went to the grocery store today and all my food is, so we luckily had another refrigerator in our garage. And he's like, it doesn't look pretty, but here he is. It's like, now it's like 11:30 and he's trailer. He had to go pick up a trailer and then they trailer this refrigerator over to their house. And then the next day we had to call somebody to fix the other refrigerator. You got to do what you got to do if you don't hire a property management company. So I told my husband, if we ever do this again, it's property management. Like, I don't want to deal with it because you're complaining to me, and I'm like, I'm out of it. So, but there are things that happen. So you just kind of have to deal with it. But there's some landlords that don't, right? And then the tenants do suffer. So, okay. So search criteria, you're going to find out the area, the price that they want to pay monthly, and how much they have for their deposits, how many bedrooms, if they have any pets, appliances. Not all rentals come with appliances. So you need to ask. Appliances are washer, dryer, refrigerator. You need to ask them, are you bringing your own or do we only need to look at the ones that have it? And if they don't have it, are you going to purchase them for, because they're not going to put them in for you. Either they come with them or they don't. This is a time to set them up on the automatic search. So once you get all that information, now you're going to do an automatic search under rentals in the MLS. There, when you hit search, you can do residential, vacant land, rentals. Make sure you click the rentals if you're looking for rentals, right? So you start them up on the search, and then that's when you can say, hey, let's meet, and we'll fill out this rental showing a compensation. Well, no, it's not that one. It's the rental. Yes, the rental showing a compensation agreement, right? And on this agreement, it says that it's between you and who, the renters, right? And then the company, the brokerage, Realty One. Yes.
Oh, question to it's made by in between the renter. So, do I have to put both who are on the
Yep,
application?
I would.
Okay.
Because if one doesn't qualify, then now you don't have any compensation. Because if you put the husband and then just on there, and all of a sudden they run the husband and he doesn't qualify, but the wife does, guess what? You're not due a commission because that wife's name is not signed.
Okay.
So always put both of the parties, or if there's anybody over the age of 18, put them all. And then the general nature of the property, condo, single family, townhome. Let's see, duration of the agreement. This agreement begins on the date that it's signed. And when does it expire? So there's only one line there, and that's the expiration date. And then the broker's compensation shall be paid at the time of and as a condition of this leasing as follows. 5A, renter agrees to pay the broker set amount of the maximum you plan on collecting. Okay, not from it says by the renter, okay, but because it will always default. We're always going to ask the landlord to pay it, but whatever the landlord doesn't pay, it defaults to the tenant.
So question. So usually I put, let's say I don't want to charge them, I just take it from the leasing company. I put $300 for example. And then in the notes, additional terms, I say leasing company to pay me $300.
More or just 300 total?
Well, that's my other question. So my second question is, so I'm have rental shows today. So today I called like 5 of them and I said, how much do you per referral? Some of them say 250, some of them say 350. So what
you're going to put the max that you're going to collect from anybody in this transaction.
So let's say the max I got from them, they said 350. So
350. And you can have the conversation with your tenant. Hey, some of these are this, some like I'm not going to collect anything from you, but some of them are saying 3, some are saying 350. So I have to put the max. And if I put 350 and the one you choose is only 300, just know that we're going to go down. When you go down in price, you don't need an addendum or anything. But if you put 350 and all of a sudden you find one that says 500, so that's my suggestion. You're going to put like 500. We have agents that put 1,000, and they get so because again, having them sign an addendum is much harder than explaining to them that I'm not going to charge you. And sometimes they do. They're like, oh my God, but I just signed something saying it's a luck of the draw. But here's the thing: we see this all the time in the regular BBRA for the purchase. They put say 3%. And then they go show a new bill that's paying 4 or 5. They don't get that money. Because again, you can have them sign the addendum, but the addendum says that you've had a conversation with your seller and they have every right to take that with your buyer, and they have every right to take that difference or give it to you. Do you think they're going to give it to you? No, you're not going to get it. No, they're going to say, that could go to me. Oh, I want it.
So again, do I have to redo this or have to file an addendum if it's more?
You can do the addendum if they're willing to sign it.
So there is an addendum in the transaction.
You know what though? I don't think there is one for the rental one, now that I think.
So would it be
Nothing.
better to just do it again?
I would do it again. Put your max amount, and if I were you, because you might not find a rental today, right? And then you go out tomorrow, and the ones tomorrow might pay 500. So I would put 500 here, but now, in additional terms, you're gonna ask your broker at your office, because here, we usually don't, in Summerlin, we don't usually let anybody put anything in additional terms.
Oh, really?
Unless it's run by our lawyers, especially in the BBRA for purchases, nobody's allowed to put anything in that, and that, yep, additional terms. Because the verbiage can be misconstrued by anybody and get us into a thing,
So I just put 350 in here and I call my renter client and said, so this is, I'm gonna ask not you to pay it, but I'm gonna collect.
I'm gonna ask the listing agent and the homeowner to pay $350, and whatever they don't cover, I'll just reduce. So you don't have to pay anything. But now if they don't wanna pay anything, so there are some rentals out there, you show them, they say, we're not compensating anything. And now you just told them they're not paying, so you're working for free. You have to show it, they wanna see it.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't know, I'm a stickler on my commissions.
So don't touch the additional terms.
No, you could tell them, and then just, and again, if they trust you, but if not, say, unfortunately, I have to write this here because then I don't get compensated what they're willing to compensate me. So I know this. If I were doing it, I'd write a minimum of $500 in there and say, whatever the seller doesn't pay, I'll reduce up to $300. But if they're only paying $250, you still owe me $50. Because I need to make at least something, everybody's going to do something differently. Again, we're all independent contractors, so you're going to pick the numbers that work for you. But in this rental showing compensation and your BBRA, when it says compensation, you are always going to put the most amount that you will ever collect in the transaction. So when you go down, if you have to go down, you don't need an addendum. If you go up, like you put 3 and a new build's offering you 4, you can have an addendum signed for the BBRA.
So this is not like the BBRA where it says, I'm negotiating the commission from the sellers, but I still have to put that fee payment. So this is not the same.
Yeah. It's tricky.
I thought it would be.
Yeah. But just, if I were you, I would just say, hey, you know what? I always put my compensation as 350 because they fluctuate from 200 to 350, sometimes even 500, but 350. And if they don't cover that, then I'll reduce it, as low as, or I'll reduce it to whatever verbiage you want. But yes, just get used to putting the max that you're going to collect in here.
I would have felt more comfortable if I put in the additional terms.
I know.
I don't charge. So
yeah.
because they'll be like, so you are going to charge me. So
No, you know what you could do? Put it in a separate email. Don't do it in a text. Just say, hey guys, I'm gonna have you sign this, but I'm gonna put it in a separate email because our brokerage doesn't allow us to put anything in the additional terms, unless we run it through the lawyer, because everybody is writing different things. And I'm gonna send you an email that's just between you and I, that if for something happens, it holds up in court. Text messages don't, so I'm gonna put it in an email that I will reduce it. Whatever the seller does, or the landlord doesn't pay, I will, I will just take whatever they give me, and you will not be out of pocket anything.
And this one is through the transaction desk. So
Yep, all the documents through transaction. All documents are found in transaction desk. Yep. So you want to do this before you open a door. You don't want to open any doors until you have this signed, because the division keeps coming into other brokerages and saying, I need the file for Carol, all Carol's files, and I need to see the access code. So then they go to LVR and they check her access codes. And so they're like, oh, Carol was showing this rental. Oh, and then this one was signed. Oh, Carol showed this house before the rental was signed. Now she's fined and we're fined. You cannot show any homes for sale or for rent until you have some kind of compensation form signed. So just make sure you do that first, and then you can start showing. Question? Okay. You just had that look, and I was like, okay. So then, let me turn the next page. So they have that signed. And then, let's see, varnish showing, perfect. Okay, so the process. Now you're gonna pull the properties that they're interested in. It is gonna be up to you if you're gonna put a max amount of properties. Some agents say, give me 5, we're only seeing 3, but a lot of them, rentals, I'm gonna be honest, they don't answer their phone. They don't call you back. So if you can't get a hold of them and it says must set an appointment, you can't show it. So you can only show the ones that say key any, go anytime, whatever, but you're calling. You might call, they might pick 5 and 2, they've already accepted applications, they just didn't change it. So there's some agents, the busier ones, that say, I'm only showing you 3. If you don't find one of these 3, you'll have to find another agent. That's it. But if you're a little bit slower and you're okay with working with them and you want to keep them as a long-term client, show all that you want. But here's the thing, you got to rein them in. Sometimes with rentals, I'm going to give you 3, and one's going to be in North Las Vegas, and one's going to be in Summerlin, one's going to be in Henderson. And now you're driving all over town, and it's going to take you 5 hours to make $200, which you just wasted in gas today. So if they do have 2 different sides of town, say today I will take you to the ones here, and then tomorrow I will take you to the ones over there. That's the best way to do it. So you're not driving and hitting traffic and all of that if you guys want to do it that way, right? So then you're going to set them up on a search. They're going to find some properties, and then you have to call them, right? And even if it says key any, go at any time, you still want to call them because you want to find out the compensation. They can't put it in here what they're compensating us. But if you call them directly and say, I'm going to be showing your property on 123 Main Street, what are you compensating for that? I'm asking for this. Is that something you guys would do? Yep. Okay, great. Now they're in your list, right? If you know your tenant can't pay anything and you want a certain amount and they said no, you go back and say, okay, Mr. Tenant, I'm happy to show it to you, but they're only compensating this, so it would be $200 out of your pocket. Do you still want to look at that one? No? Okay, throw it out. You don't have to show it to them. You just offer that to them. Just be 100% honest. This is what I get, because they've already set that tone in your compensation agreement. And then you say, this is all they're willing to pay. Will you pay the difference? Yes? Great, we'll go look at it. No? Okay. But just make sure that on that compensation agreement, it says what they said, at least. Anyways, okay, so now you're going to put them in. So you're going to pull the properties that they want. They give you you've made the appointments. You haven't made the appointments. You get the properties that they want. You put them in an order of showing, and then you call to make the appointment. So then that way you're going to see this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, as opposed to this one, that one, then this one, then that one. So you want to put them in your order first. How much time do you allot for each showing? Depends on your clients. Sometimes they're in and out because it's a rental. this is a good floor plan, like the neighborhood, and they're out in 10 minutes, maybe less. Other times I have clients that will spend a half hour in each house. So no, the first showings are hard. So you say I've allotted for 15 minutes for each house. If we need more time, I'll have to reschedule. But you're going to stay on track, because this one might be vacant, but the next one has somebody in there and they're waiting for you. They're standing out in 115 degrees waiting for you to get in and out. So you want to allot for that, but also allot for your driving time. So if they're in the same general area, you could probably take 2 minutes in between each. If not, 15 minutes, 10 minutes to drive, 15 minutes, 10 minutes to drive. You might get 2 to 3 homes in an hour. Okay. So that's why I say it takes up a lot of your time. So you have to be prepared for that. You don't want to be showing 15 homes, and just say I could do it in 3 hours. You probably can't, even if they're close.
My buyer, like at first, he brought his dad, who was in the wheelchair,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have to cart him out of the car, and then throw him into the house and wheel him in, and show him, which is super cute.
Yeah.
It took a while for each house, and then
For the rentals?
For the rentals, that's the one I'm on the contract with now. But
Yeah.
He brought his dad, and it was so cute, but it took a long time.
Yes. And so once you do day one like that, you have a heart-to-heart with your client and say, you know what, unfortunately, we do have to speed things up, because it just is not practical. So why don't we find the ones that you and I will go, we'll find the ones that we like, and then we'll come back and reschedule and bring your dad back, right? Because there's no sense in getting him in and out when you're like, you walk in and it stinks like dog urine, and you're like, I can't, that's a lot for him also to be lifting and moving.
Somewhere I was like, oh, we were talking about the car, because I don't think you guys would like this.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We moved on.
So you guys set the tone. If you don't want, if you have people with unruly children, you set the tone. You know what? I have to be as professional as possible. People have cameras. So is there a better time that we could do it where somebody might be able to watch your kids while we go show? Because this is your profession. I mean, you're not going to take them into a doctor's office and let them be running all over. Like they're not. Like you guys are the ones that set the rules, right? So you'll put them in order. Then you're going to call and make an appointment, but also ask how much they offer for your compensation. Then you're going to show the properties. When they find the one that they like and they want to move forward, this is how they apply. You do not ever fill out an application for anybody. Okay. So it might say, please go to the LVR, use the LVR application. Great. You're going to set it up in AuthentiSign and email it over to them with all the spots that they have to fill in, or you can just save it as a PDF and email it to them, say print it out, fill it out, and then take it back to this address or email it over here. They'll need copies of IDs and all that. You're going to follow the instructions. And sometimes they'll say, go to our website and we'll give you the steps. And you go to the website and it'll say, okay, they need to fill out this form and they need this address. And then, I mean, this, their IDs and information about their pets and because they're going to ask how many kids and, what their ages are, if there's pets, what kind, what breed, they want pictures. They want it's a whole thing. It's not just like 5 minutes.
There's a screening now.
Yes. Yes.
There's a link.
Yeah, there is a link for screening. So if they have pets, there's a whole other website that they might send them to that they have to log in there. What kind of dogs? I don't know. It's a whole thing, right? So then you'll send a email to the listing agents. So sometimes they'll say, hey, then just email us back. You can choose. I choose not to do this, but they can send you their application filled out and then you can send it on. I don't like to do that because it has personal information, socials, and all of that. I try not to take anybody's personal information. So I say, hey guys, I'm going to send a quick email to the listing agent. Once I'm done, you go ahead and send over your application. And the reason why you're wanting to send an email as well, so it can link you to them and they know oh, I didn't know you were there as we processed it. We didn't realize you were the realtor. You're not getting paid. Right? We don't want to do that. So, hi, Miss Listing Agent. I just show my clients, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your listing, 123 Main Street. Here, they're currently filling out the application. They're going to send that over to you in a separate one. Please look for their email. This is their email. There's my compensation, my W-9 form. Please let me know if there's anything you have to do that you need me to do. And you just send it over. Yes.
How about having them write a cover letter? So I had this friend of a friend. He was moving to California, and he got rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "What do you think about the cover letter I wrote?" And he was basically writing about how he struggled with his business and struggled. And he sent it to the leasing company, and he was like, "What do you think about it?" And I was like, "Well, maybe don't share too much of your personal information, story." So I had him rewrite it and then send it to the leasing company. So is that a good thing to do? Oh, no.
No, it's called a love letter.
Yeah.
And they're technically against the law. Don't worry. Don't freak out about that. But in the sense that it gets people in trouble. So if as a listing agent, if a buyer's agent sent me over an offer with a whole love letter, oh, it's a cute little couple and they have 2 kids and they're military, blah, blah, blah. And we end up picking somebody else's, they can sue us because they feel that they've been, rejected because of something they said in that letter.
So what's the best
So
way
what
to
I do,
tell them
you
that-
don't.
Oh.
So what I do is as a listing agent, thank you so much for your offer. I'm just letting you know that I will not be including the love letter that you have sent over to my clients. They are just looking at your offer based on what the offer is. But thank you so much. But I put it now in writing, so you just gave me more work to say, I'm not going to be doing this. So it's in writing that I never showed it to my clients. So they did not make a decision off of that love letter. Same thing with your tenants. You can have a conversation with the listing agent, say, oh, whatever we can do would be great, because he had this and then, and they're trying to get in the school district for their kids. Just don't put it in writing because then it includes all of us in any kind of lawsuit.
If they're insisting to send it.
I say no. I could send it. No one's going to show it. I personally wouldn't show it. That's what I'd say. You can give it to me and I'll send it on, but I guarantee you that agent is not going to show it to them because it gets us all in trouble.
Is it specifically only for Nevada?
No, it's yeah. So there are some states I think that they're allowed to do it in, but every state is different. That's why we get some people that will interview with us and they're like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I've been licensed in California and Florida. I'm like, okay, great, but you haven't been licensed here. You don't know, all these laws, all the contingency time frame, every state is different. But in this state, that is not how we practice.
So as a professional, do I say we don't need it?
I just say we do not deal with love. They're going to say they're considered love letters, and we don't deal with them here because they can get a little dicey and put us all at risk. Because if they don't like something in your love letter and they reject you, that's going to make you mad. So then are you going to go after them and me for presenting it and them for rejecting you because they didn't like something that you said? So no, we don't, like, you can give it to me and I'll pass it on, but I'm telling you, they will not present it. It's best to keep it short because they think they're doing themselves oh, I'm going to let them know about me, but maybe nobody wants these people don't want kids in their house. Maybe they don't want people with dogs. Maybe and if they have maybe a child with disabilities, then they can use that. You didn't pick us because my child had disabilities, like there's a whole big can of worms that it opens up. So in this state, we don't use them. Yeah, so just tell them no. Like, I found out we're not supposed to be doing that, and that the agents aren't showing them anyways. But you can have a conversation. Yeah. Just say, hey, yes. And then next thing you know, you're just spewing everything, and she's like, okay, yeah, okay, got it. And then she can go ahead and possibly tell the seller, but you don't have anything that is going to put anybody at risk, right? Okay, so perfect. All right, so then they fill out the forms. Then what happens is they send the email over or whatever, their application, it hits their system. They're going to do background checks and everything in there. Sometimes they take them in order that they've arrived, and other times they're just looking at them saying, oh, I wanted this one, I want that. It's up to them how they want to do it. It's not our fault. Like, if they might get 15 and they're just like, we're going to just this one, that's completely up to them. It's their house. And then they're going to probably contact your tenant directly, right? Not you. For rentals, they usually just kind of like, okay, great, thanks so much, and then you're done. So then they're dealing with the tenant, which is kind of good because I don't want to know all the personal stuff, right? And I say, okay, just let me know I tell my tenants, just let me know if they contact you so I can just stay in the loop and I can follow along, because you want to maybe, if they do a walkthrough or something, just educate them on that kind of stuff. Like, hey, you should be taking pictures of everything, because they've accepted you, but now you've got to do a walkthrough and document what date and time, and it's time stamped of that the carpet looked like this when you moved in, and that kind of stuff, right? So then if they accept the tenant, they work out everything, deposits, time frame, all of that, and they have them sign the lease agreement. And then they'll change it to, once they get their deposits, they usually change it to like under contract or pending or something like that, right? And then after they sign the lease, they'll do the walkthrough. Sometimes they say move in, everything's secured, move in, and you have 5 days to do your walkthrough. Because sometimes they want you to move in and see if everything's working and whatever, because they might not have been in that property for a little bit. So you just they follow the lead, but you're non-existent after that, right? You're just sitting here. And then once it's, once the tenant has been accepted, I like to reach out one more time. Thank you so much for, getting our tenants accepted. They're, ecstatic or whatever. How, I just to finish my file. How do you guys pay? Within 10 days, 5 days, 10 days, 30 days, because some of them can take up to 30 days to release a check. So you're waiting $200 for $200 for 30 days. And we had another agent that they're like, nope, we sent it. We said, oh, no, you know what? We were on vacation. And it was just this whole thing. She's over 30 days at this point, right? So it does happen, but you want to kind of follow up so you know when to look for it. And then what you're doing is you've put your documents into SkySlope, because what happens is you guys haven't opened a file. So if we receive a check, we don't know where it goes. And that's the check that Sharon constantly talks about. She's like, I got a check for $3,000. I don't know who or what property, because they just send a check. They don't put your name on it. They don't put the address on it sometimes. So they're just like, what does it go to, Or they'll put an address, but you guys didn't put anything in SkySlope. So she's like, I don't know who did this. So as soon as you get things signed, you can do pre-contract in SkySlope, and you'll be uploading your rental showing a compensation agreement. And then I'm going to be honest, this rental referral agreement, it goes from you to the listing agent. 90% of the time they don't sign it and send it back. But you just need to show, whenever you ask for a signature and somebody doesn't sign it, you email it twice. Please sign this document. And then if they don't sign it, you just upload a copy of those emails. And then you just, that's sufficient enough that said, we tried. And they didn't sign it, right? But this just says what I'm getting, right? So rental showing and compensation is between you and your client. The rental referral is between you and the listing agent, which you might not get. But then the W-9, you're sending this so they know exactly where they're sending your check, right? And then once they lease it, they're going to change the MLS to lease, and you're going to upload that as well. And then, tenant will make the deposits, do the walkthrough, the property is removed from the MLS, and it's leased. Okay. The management company has up to 30 days to pay you. Okay. So then there's a whole nother thing in here from about the rental process that one of our agents kind of spelled out. So I'm going to let you guys read that on your own. But really, again, I want to go over the pre-qualifying, the readiness. Don't just take them out because they want to go out, right? You need to make sure that they're a client, a customer that you would like to spend time with. We don't have to take everybody that wants to work with us, right? And you got to be picky and choosy, right? So you make sure it says decide if you will show properties more than 2 weeks out from the desired date, which you shouldn't because they can't really hold anything. But properties are usually held for 10 to 14 days. Automatic denials are felonies, evictions, collections, cell phones. If they don't pay their cell phone, that's almost an automatic denial as well. So a lot like those little stuff, guys, right? Bankruptcy, it has to be discharged. If not, they might charge a higher deposit or require a cosigner. Employment, they need to have show that gross income is 2 to 3 times the amount of the monthly. They need documents. They need pay stubs, 2 pay stubs usually. Their credit score needs to be a minimum of 600. Lower credit scores, they may require a co-applicant, and they must reside in the property with them. And most will not take a cosigner that is not. And then they will also ask for a higher security deposit for the lower the credit score. They could just say, hey, this is your credit score. If not, we're not looking at your application. But so ask them about their timeline. Ask them. Don't feel that you can't ask them about the credit score. A lot of people are like, because when they're buying, we're usually like, hey, that's lender stuff. Rentals are totally different. What is your credit score? I need you to go on Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. I need you to get me the median credit score because that's what they're going to do. And then they're going to pull a background check on them to see all of this stuff. So be as true. I tell them when you're filling out the application, be as honest as possible because they're going to see it all, right? Don't try to hide it. It's going to come out. Ask them the number of applicants. Anybody over the age of 18 must complete a separate application as well. And then pets, if they have any pets, what kind, how many, how much do they weigh, all that good stuff. There's aggressive breeds that a lot of people won't take. Pit bulls, German shepherds, chows. So you need to ask them. And I ask them before I even show properties. How much are you compensating? Are you taking pets, dogs? Are there any exclusions on dogs, breeds? Because why bother? And a lot of times, some of these homes have those vinyl fencing in the backyards. The bigger the dog, the more chances are they're going to knock the fencing down. So that's why the weight matters, right? If it's a 2-story like condo or townhome or something, the dog's upstairs. So there's reasons why they put a limit on all that. But showing process, you gather their criteria, you set them up on a search. So it's the same as kind of like showing a home. Then you go show the properties, make the appointments, call the agent, make the appointments, ask about the compensation, show the properties. And that's about it. So this does talk about the application process. Documents that are needed. You're going to complete whatever application they want, or they are going to complete the application, whatever the homeowner wants. They need a photo ID, income documentation, and pet information if that's what they're, if they have a pet. And you can ask the agent, are you accepting multiple applications or is it first come, first serve? There's usually an application fee just to process that, and it's per person, right? And then per person, background check as well. Approval time. How soon will we get a response? It's usually 24 to 28, 72 hours, I think she said. So they can take as long as they want.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
How about negotiations? We don't get negotiate with the customer.
Here's the thing is hopefully you've done the pricing before they submit the application. Hey, let me just look real quick and see what other rentals are going for in the neighborhood. And if they're going at the same price, then you're like, hey, I'm just letting you know because they know. The landlord knows what they're going for, right? But you could say, hey, I can ask for $100 off, $50 off. They're not coming down $500. It's minimal. Like, hey, we'll take $50 off, a month. But then we're going to charge you $100 for every pet, so it balances out. But you can ask them on the phone, are they negotiable? Because on that application, they're going to fill in what they want the rent to be. So that's why the applications are like, it doesn't have to be first come, first serve. It's, hey, whichever one I think is good because you came in first, but you took $150 off my rent. So you can ask. I don't negotiate too much on rentals. I tell them going in, what you see is what you get unless there's something major. But if they only qualify, you say they only want to spend $2,500 a month and they're sending you ones that are $3,000. No, guys.
It also doesn't really benefit us really if you negotiate.
No, it doesn't. It's more so they can ask when they call them up to credit verify and all of that. And they're like, okay, I just wanted to talk to you. Sometimes they'll ask them to walk the application down with their IDs to the management companies because the management company wants to see them. They're not telling you that, but that's what they're doing. They're like, they just want to see what type of person that is. And then when they go down there, when you drop off the application, ask them if that's negotiable or, whatever, because it's not really us. Our job as a rental agent is just a door opener
Yeah.
and to process the 4 documents.
And
That's it.
how about rent increase?
You can ask them about that, but usually it's they're locked for that term, a year. Very rarely will you find some 6 months. Sometimes you find the high rises are fully furnished. You got to ask them that. Your tenants, do you need furniture or like whatever? Because that reduces their the searches. But if they do a year, then ask them what happens after a year. But it's going to be in their lease agreement. It's month to month after that, or it goes up $200 a month, or you automatically have to renew another year, or every rental is different and they're going to set their own tone. So you do want to have them ask that, but really it's not us. Like we're not asking any of that. So don't get too involved in it because we want to help.
Yeah.
But it's just a rental and it's a short term. Even if it's a year, it's still short term. Let them figure that out and then they can talk. Hey, Fred. So
Why do more than you need?
yes. Well, it's not even that we need. The more we do, the more involved we get, and then they're like, "Oh, I need you to do this. I need you to." That's not our job. Our job is really just keep that in mind. I'm just finding the home, opening the door, and telling where to apply. That's it, and then I get a check. Like, so you don't want to overcome, but sometimes it warrants a phone call. Hey, I need to see if you have a pet. Let me see if they'll take yours. Yeah, or hey, we're thinking about getting a pet, and we're just signing a 2-year lease. Will they be able to get a pet? Because it might be a deal breaker for your clients. That kind of stuff. But changing carpet and repainting the whole no, I want all new appliances. Not going to happen. So you also don't want to make yourself look bad because again, there's 17,000 of us licensed realtors, but probably 20% of us are working. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of us. So you're going to run into the same people. And if you do consistently do rentals, you're going to run into the same people that do them, right? So they're like, oh, this one again. They're always asking for me to fix the house. And it could shoot your clients in the foot because it's not something that you're doing because your clients are asking you to do it, but they're taking it as you are just trying to get something for nothing, right? But okay, let's see. Ask the tenants to notify you once they've submitted the application, and then once they've been accepted, just say, hey, if they let you know, sometimes they don't include me on that. So if they reach out to you at all, just let me know. Keep me in the loop. And then they'll sign the lease. You can or you don't have to go to their walkthrough. Sometimes you want to be involved, sometimes you don't. But I just educate them. Usually I don't go, but I just say, guys, take pictures of everything. Do a walking video and keep it for your records. And then they'll have them fill out a form of were there any spots or holes in the wall or carpet or whatever. And they're going to note that because in a year, if they go to move out and they're like, this was never noted, but it was there the whole time. Well, it was never noted. So you guys got to pay for that. And that's usually taking their security deposit. Because remember, that security deposit, the buyers or the tenants are intending to get it back. But the seller, as a seller, my husband's like, that's mine. There's going to be wear and tear on the house. I'm like, well, you have to physically write down what you replaced or repaired and what it cost. And so, unless they give you a detail, the owner has to give them a detail of what they use that money for, and then everything else has to be released. But the owner's trying not to give it back. They want to fix it for the next person.
Yeah.
So
For the rental status, if it's a W, that needs
withdrawn. Yep, taken off. She put key tenant vetting points: felonies, evictions, landlord collections, or utility collections denial. Medical collections are acceptable by most property managers. Cell phone debts may be considered utilities and may impact approval. Higher security deposits may apply for lower credit scores, past bankruptcies, collections, or other credit score findings. So that's that. So does anybody have any questions about rentals?
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe so if for some like corporation, they need to help their employee, like say relocate to Vegas, then it's kind of if they hire us, their compensation is different than then
Well, it
pay
depends.
flat fee?
It depends. So you're gonna set your compensation of what you wanna get. And so if it's a corporation and they've contacted you and you just say, I get X amount of money for rentals, then say, I of course always ask the seller or listing agent to pay it, the landlord to pay it. Whatever they don't pay, it'll fall onto you guys. You just explain that to them. But or you can say, I charge you guys a flat fee of this because I'm going to be helping you, and then I'm going to try to collect this from the landlord. You can collect from both people. You can collect from anybody that you want. Now, something to watch out for. If and I think we figured out a way to get around it, but at the beginning, once this buyer broker agreement and everything came about, if you put $500 on your showing agreement and gave it to the seller, or your referral agreement, right? You put $500, and then the seller or landlord was only going to give you $300, and you had to collect $200 from your buyer. If you collected $300 from the landlord, but the buyer ghosted you, we can't pay you any, because we have to, your agreement says this. So we were making the agents go back and say, hey, fine, you don't have to pay me the $200, just correct it. There's sometimes your clients, they ghost you and you can't get paid. So talk to your compliance department. I think Sharon figured out a workaround with that, but it's like, it's not our fault. They don't want to pay me, like what, but I'll reduce it, but you can't even get them on the phone. So just talk if you run into situations like that. But the best thing to do is always remember, once you have your client sign something, it must go into SkySlope within 72 hours. You got to start a file. And then once we have that file and it's leased, then it goes into like the actual, because it's kind of a temporary pre-contract. And then once it's leased, now it goes into the actual file. So then we can pay you out that way. But without documents, we can't pay you. So
What's the compensation for the landlord, like listing, well, what's the compensation for listing agents?
it's all, every agent decides whatever they want.
Okay.
So-
Like normally one month's rent kind of thing?
So every state is different. And I know I get a lot of agents that, they'll say, well, in California, we get one month's rent, $5,000, $6,000. We don't see that here. In Vegas, we're generally seeing $150 to $500.
Oh, wow.
Now you can ask for whatever you want, and if you say, if you put $2,000 in there, you send it over to the listing agent and she says, well, we're only paying you $500. You got to go to your buyer and the buyer's giving you the rest. You're going to decide what you want to do for that job. Mm-hmm.
No, I guess I maybe didn't repeat it because you're talking about like for the if we help the renters,
Mhm.
then we normally
Oh,
get
when you're listing, when you're
like
listing it is
from the listing
Yep.
for the landlord,
Mhm.
like they got to be more
Again.
than 500, right?
no, it's negotiable. Some people, you'll see a courtesy listing, they're doing it for free, but don't ever put courtesy listing because it's not a courtesy. Like you're still doing all of the job. You're just saying courtesy listing tells me you're not getting paid. That means I can't get you on the phone. That's what it tells me. You're not working. So it's courtesy listing. I just put it in here so they can get MLS or showings, but that means they're not really compensating you or
But why
whatever.
would you do that?
Oh yeah, and then that's what I try to tell the agents. You still did it. They couldn't get onto the MLS unless they had you who went through all of this and holds a license. I do nothing for free because everything I do, I say, if I get sued for this, will my compensation cover? And I would teach every single one of you to do the same thing because we get a lot of mentees that'll come in here and they'll say, oh, well, it's just my family, so I'm going to do it for free. Okay, but when you're on the mentee program, I don't care if you collect nothing. Realty One it's a 70-30 split for those first 3 transactions. So if you collect nothing, we're still going to charge you, right? But if they decide to sue you, now you got no payment and you got sued. And so you always want to make sure you're covered. So as a listing agent for a rental, you're to charge whatever. You can charge $500. You can charge $300. You can charge 1 month's rent. It's whatever you feel. But to me, it's like doing a regular buyer listing. So I'm not going to take, I'm not going to say anything, but you're still going there. You're still doing measurements. You're still doing pictures. You're still putting it on the MLS. You're still marketing out there. You have to do all of this stuff. It's not any different than taking a sale listing. So don't do it for peanuts, you know, because again, you have to be compensated. It's your time. Now you're fielding phone calls from all of the agents that are trying to show it, you know, and answering the questions and then about the compensation, because almost every agent's going to call you to ask about compensation before they go to that property. So now you're fielding a ton of phone calls for a rental, which is taking time away from your buyers and sellers. So you have to make sure that it's compensated. But please, if you're going to be a listing agent, explain to them that the buyer's agent is generally going to ask for some kind of compensation. And the problem is some agents don't tell their sellers that, and they're like, why am I paying them? So they never thought that they'd have to pay. So now it becomes a problem. And then that tenant wants the house, but that tenant doesn't have the money. And so now the agent's working for free. It's just, so just be, even as a regular listing agent, that's part of my listing presentation. This is what I'm asking for, and I'm just letting you know the buyer's agent is going to be submitting an offer asking for compensation as well. I have no idea what that is. That's why I didn't allot for it. It could be 1%, it could be 5%. I have no idea. We'll evaluate that once we get the offer over, and same with the rentals. They're going to send us something that says how much they're asking for. So again, compensations are open. So, all right, anything else? No? Good? Okay, perfect. Well, good luck on your rental.